Hey family, thank you so much for joining me. So I know I usually will do focused readings or I will do videos with tips, but I wanted to do a more relaxed sort of video to talk about some topics that I've really seen discussed quite a lot, but I have not really had a chance to speak on these topics. Um, and I might not be able to get to all the topics because I don't want to make the video too long. Um, but I just wanted to explore some of these things because I think they're important. And a lot of people would say that they've had experiences, they just don't talk a lot about them. So I know um, as far as aliens go, I have heard a lot of people talk about their experiences with aliens. Recently, I spoke with someone and they were saying that they weren't sure if it was a ghost or what it was, but a, a ghost, a demon, they weren't sure what it was, but they saw it um, from their room and they were sharing a room with family members, but they saw it from the window in their room and it was, down on the ground, like walking around. And they said that it appeared to have like a white sheet on it. And they were a kid at the time. So it was some years ago, but it freaked them out. And I think, a lot of people have these experiences with, like I'm saying, they're not sure whether is it a ghost, is it a demon, is it an alien, what is it? Um, and it's possible that they could all be the same things. Or maybe when we think about ghosts, like a lot of people say, well, it's a spirit. Um, and so that would be the spirit of a person, maybe who has passed on. It could be another type of spirit as well. I'm not really sure. I'm not an expert on all the spirits that there are. Um, but I think that it's time for people to stop pretending like these supernatural experiences, if that's what we want to call them, are not happening to people because they are. And I think, well, even the government is discussing what they call UAP, I think unidentified aerial phenomena, what they used to call UFO, unidentified flying objects. And the government is discussing it and saying, it's possible, or they're saying, no, they're real. And a lot of people have had these experiences now. For me, I could say I've seen a lot of strange things in the sky. And even one night, something that followed me from maybe, say, 10 minutes away from where I stay to where I stay. And it wasn't a plane. It was a really interesting experience to me. And it was just like a white light up in the sky, like far enough away that it was the distance away of a plane that a plane would usually be, but it was more, it for it to be able to be so precise in its movements, no blinking lights, none of that. And so it was actually a pretty interesting experience for me. And this is not the first time that I've seen something like that, the white light that's up in the sky far enough that the distance could be between the distance of a plane for me, but it doesn't move like a plane. I don't see the blinking lights, the different colors. I don't see the shape of a plane. It's just sort of like a big comet or something in the sky, but it's following me closely enough, and precisely enough that it doesn't look like a plane, doesn't look like a helicopter, and it just kind of sits. Wherever it stops, it just sits and sits there. So I can't say. All I could say is it doesn't look like a plane, but I'm not really sure what to make of it. Um, as far as time space, in my experience, I would say, because, I've talked to people about it. I've had a lot of psychic experiences where, and I don't know if that's the best word for it either, but I've had a lot of experiences where I've dreamed about the future, or I've had visions about the future. Um, just sitting, connecting with someone, talking with someone on the phone. And I had this vision of what was going on where they were in the room they were in, and I was hours away. Um, when I had, so I can talk about one experience that I had. And like I said, I don't want the video to be too long. Just want to say, a lot of us have psychic abilities, but a lot of us have had experiences that it's hard to explain. Um, so I was doing visualization exercises a lot every day for a while. And this particular time, I was planning on going to see a movie in a couple days. It was it was actually Spider-Man: No Way Home at that time. Um, and so I'm sitting there doing my visualization, and it threw me into what they call a remote viewing. And remote viewing, you can be in one space, and maybe you're looking at something that's going on hours away from you, or days, weeks, months, years, whatever, away from you. So I'm sitting and I start doing a remote viewing, and I'm viewing things that I'd never seen before, and it looked like reality was being torn open, the sky was being torn open, and I didn't have any idea what was going on. It went on for uh, maybe a minute or so, long enough for me for it to make a pretty good impression on me, and I had no idea what it was, but I remembered it vividly. I said I have no idea what that was, what I just saw. And I just kind of tabled it. You know how sometimes you don't know what category to fit something in. And you say, okay, well, let me just put that in the unknown category for now and move on and come back to it later. So a couple days later, went to see Spider-Man: No Way Home. And in this movie, I saw the very scenes that I'd remote viewed that day, sitting in the kitchen area where I stayed. And it was one of the most amazing things to me. Now, this is not the first time that it happened to me, but it was just so vivid. It was so amazing. It was so, I don't know, it stuck out so much to me. I'm not sure why, but it's not the first time, has not been the last time that I did remote viewing. It's just pretty amazing when it happens. So I guess it's so memorable because it is so amazing. But then that leads us, I think, to the question, is time space real? Because a lot of people say, no, not really. And I would say, I would pose the question, I guess. It's possible, isn't it, that it's not real? That all times are happening at once, at the same time. Because if I can be sitting in one space at one time, have a vision of what's going to happen 2, 3 days into the future, or years, months, weeks, whatever, into the future, it's possible that that's happening in some other dimension or something right now, and not into the future. Or maybe it's going on right now in my timeline, and then maybe later on it will happen again in my timeline. However, it has already happened in another timeline. Um, it kind of throws one for a loop, I would say, but it pushes me to question what it is that's going on, what our experiences are, what what are we living in, and all this stuff. Because then wouldn't it be like a glitch if it's like repeating itself, and I know, and it's, this not, like I said, it's not the first time I did a remote viewing, and I've actually had multiple dreams, many, many, many dreams over the year. If I just pay attention to my dreams over the years, excuse me, where I've dreamed about the future, about it, and then it happens many, many times, and it's like, okay, well, if it already happened, it's happening again. Is it a time loop? What is it that's going on in our experience? Um, so I think that's pretty interesting. But the space time thing, I wonder, it makes me wonder because I dreamed about the so-called future multiple times. I've seen things that happen in people's pasts, things that happen a couple days from now, things that are happening right now. And it's just interesting to me to think about it. Um, but again, I didn't want to make the video too long. I just wanted to talk about a few things that I've seen and discuss. People, a lot of people are saying whatever their experiences are and how maybe, there's something to this. Maybe time space is not really real. Maybe it's an illusion, that different clocks measure time in different ways at different speeds. It's subjective. Once something is subjective, um, then there's a question of, whether it's something that's absolute or a fact. So I'll leave you with this. There are things that are happening in our reality every day, and we don't know. We can't always put words to it. We can't always explain it away. Sometimes we end up putting it in the unknown category, and for some of us, it has us stuck, and others of us, we say, okay, we'll move on until we get the chance to explore it further, and maybe we can explain more of it or understand it more, but it doesn't stop us in our tracks like some of these things do. So I just thought it would be an interesting topic to discuss. Never really get the chance to discuss stuff like this, but I think I'd be interested in discussing it more because I think a lot of people have these experiences and they just don't get the chance to talk about it anywhere or comment on it or whatever. So I'd love to hear your comments about things that have happened to you, and what category you might put them in, or how you explain them. If you think space time is really real or an illusion, if you think maybe this whole thing, people call it the matrix, maybe the whole thing is an illusion. We don't know. But I think it's important to create a space and hold the space for people to be able to talk about this, share this, and not feel like they've done something wrong or different or strange or something because they share the information. It's a discussion that I think could benefit a lot of people if we had it more often. All right, y'all. So thank you so much for joining me on this, and I'm excited to hear what you think about it. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Okay, love y'all. Bye.